Hey everybody, Dr. Rob here. I'm excited about this Facebook Live podcast. I've got a lot of good information to share with everybody. We've got a lot of people that I spoke to before that are going to chime in and are really supporting this Facebook Live podcast. We've got Creator Chiropractic with Dr. Mike Warren and Dr. Mike Powell in Medford, Oregon. It's great. Big shout out to my friend Asher Allen. I got some stuff here in your honor from Nutridyne. Nutridyne's there, and my good old, without question, couldn't go anywhere without it, Arconia. And we're going to show you some interesting things. We're going to talk a lot about immuno-rejuvenation today and the idea of how we can help our own immune system. Obviously, that's the topic of conversation without question. Having said that, as always, feel free to give a shout out. Feel free to ask a question. Feel free to let me know where you are. I will ask questions after each segment, so you write them down. I've got somebody watching them. I didn't use my laptop today. I wanted to talk right into the camera. I wanted to have that conversation with you and I. So, again, it's during the week. It's Wednesday, if I have the right day. Right in the middle, they call it the hump day. Beautiful weather here in New York, just so you know. A lot of information. So America looks like we're dropping down. That curve is flattening a little bit. So it'll be real interesting to see when the states open up how that positively, adversely affects that. So I'm sorry?
Share it.
I can hear you. I'm sorry.
Share it.
Share it. Thank you. I was just told, make sure you share this critical information. And if you're just tuning in for the first time, like my Facebook, obviously it's Dr. Rob Silverman. Please follow me. In addition, let's just dig in on the immune system. And then I want to show you, hang out, because I'm going to show you what I do to keep my immune system in what I hope is a pristine condition. It's full disclosure today. So I'm going to show you things that I eat, supplements I take, the laser I use, my time frame in which I eat in, exercise things, everything. So you're going to get full disclosure. You're going to get everything that science has told me and empirical research has said that we need to do to have what we call immuno-rejuvenation, or really enable our immune system to be boosted, supported in this era. So just so you know, a lot of growing sentiment that COVID-19 is, with all the comorbidities, is becoming what they call a lifestyle disease. So it's really interesting. So if you have these comorbidities like diabetes, obesity, the biggest one about the lifestyle disease, in addition to obesity, hypertension, fascinating with the weight, the hypertension, and the diabetes, some interesting things that I think may lead us down a path also of compromise may be the leaky gut. Having covered all that and talking about the idea of the lifestyle, the premise is we want to, as I always say, be a inhospitable host. You can't control the virus, but you can control the host. If the host is inhospitable, with our barriers up, our immune system strong, able to ward off this pathogen, and then when the pathogen gets in, that we have a better outcome, we're able to take care of it and diminish its virulent status. Now we're talking about an inhospitable host. Remember, the virus is not live. The virus is active, or the virus is inactive. So obviously, we obviously clearly want to keep the virus inactive, and we've talked some ideas on how to keep it inactive just from getting in the barriers by washing your hands with soap, breaking it up, and the such. But the concept of a lifestyle disease is fascinating, and here we have, as described yesterday on television by several different doctors, a more virulent virus. It's more virulent than influenza A. Sometimes not as pathogenic as some of our previous flus and viruses. However, it's wreaking havoc. So what's changed? I think the human host has changed. I think that our immune systems are more compromised, and they're more compromised because we have more comorbidities. 60% of Americans have an issue with comorbidity. The biggest takeaway is 12% of Americans are metabolically active to a good functional level. So you're looking at between 1 in 7 and really 1 in 8 Americans. So a lot of people, even though they don't have a comorbidity, still may have what we call a hidden comorbidity. to this virulent virus. So what can we do? Well, one, we've got to take the step forward in health, and all the things that we're going to talk about and all the people that I work with are big. They're all lifestyle health proponents. So let's talk about a couple ideas on how to improve our immune system and ultimately get to immuno-rejuvenation. Number one, let's downregulate. We talked about detox yesterday. Let's downregulate the toxic load. We live in a toxic world. We're exposed. We talked yesterday about paper being an issue for us, the environment, the non-organic foods that are typically pesticide-rich, the glutens, the sugars, the starches, all things that are very deleterious to our overall health. We want to decrease the load. We want to decrease the chemicals at home and the chemicals in our environment. Chemicals in home, clearly just the air could be very chemically ridden. The two biggest spots that we talked about yesterday, and I got tons of emails and thanks for reaching out, were the mattress. You spend 1/3 of your time in bed. Your mattress is with a flame retardant. Nothing worse than that. I strongly recommend getting flame retardant mattresses. I'm sorry? Flame retardant free mattresses. Got the correction. And in addition to that, also, changing of the food and changing of the environment. We also want to calm down overactive antigen cells. So let me take a second and explain that to you. An antigen is something that's floating around. An antigen to me is a foreign body. Your immune system has these tentacles and says self or foreign. So when it says self, it lets it float around. It doesn't attack. It's like the bat phone. The bat phone says when something is foreign, it calls on all your immune cells to come. So brief overview in immune cells, we've got 3 barrier systems. Barrier number 1 is our skin, is our gut barriers and the such, not to let things come in. Mucous membranes, like the barrier to the lung, like the barrier to the gut. Number 2, in our immune system, we have an innate and we have an adaptive or acquired immune system. An innate is what we're given. It's natural killer cells and cells like that. When you switch from your innate to your acquired or adaptive, which we created on our own, interestingly enough, in the human species about 10,000 years ago, that's when the twist comes in. Now, there'll be some interesting things there. When that comes out, that's where autoimmunity can come in. That's where we can have the inflammatory issues. So we want to calm down the antigen cells. So let me give you a couple of antigen cells in our gut. It's our dendritic cells. So dendritic cells are what we call a periscope. They actually stick out of the gut and they move around like a periscope, and they determine, is that self, is that foreign? Do I have to call more reinforcements in? The Kupffer cells are what suffice the same as dendritic cells in the gut, but they do it for the liver. So we have these different organs that have different cells that are able to communicate to determine if we want to bring in this adaptive immune system. So we want to downregulate our toxic load so we don't overwrought our specific systems, because we're building towards a conversation of what we call cytokine storm. Cytokine storm is an elevation of cytokines, and then we get attacked and it flows over. Everybody knows the example I've used. I've used it multiple times in Facebook. So here we have water. Right in here, if you could possibly see it, it's about 3/4 full. That means you're inflamed. You have a comorbidity. You're not eating well. You have a toxic load. And I just come here and talk to you, not realizing with this foreign body, all the water overflows and you're like, oh my God, it's sort of like a cytokine storm. However, if you take care of yourself and there's no chemical overload and you're watching what you eat, et cetera, and you're in that 12%, which we want to really grow, 12% to 92%, you have a lot of time to be able to put the inflammation. You'll never elevate to that cytokine storm, so you won't have that deleterious effect of a pathogen like COVID-19. So downregulate. Then you want to diversify. You want to eat food diversity. You're going to see a bunch of foods we have here. You want to have bacterial diversity. You're going to get bacterial diversity from multiple fronts. Number 1 front is going to be your diet. You want to eat from the color rainbow. When you're able to eat from the color rainbow, it gives you bacterial diversity. You're going to use a bunch of different supplemental probiotics. Don't stay with one. Use a multitude, but use good quality probiotics. Make sure you take them with prebiotics. Now we're starting to get into some interesting concepts. We want to be able to improve our immune resilience, meaning that our immune system is very resilient to different types of pathogens and different types of foreigners. We don't want to just cave in. Then hopefully we have what we call immune tolerance. Immune tolerance is a very interesting concept in that the concept says that your body can be tolerant to antigens. Not everything that passes lights you up. It's kind of like not being too excitable. If you're able to, walk on a train, as I metaphor, and get bumped, you don't have a major outbreak. You understand that it's part and parcel of what's going on, if you will, on a typical or used to be a typical New York City train. So you want to have that immune tolerance. You don't want your body to overreact and start attacking itself. So resilience and tolerance come from downregulation and diversity. Now we want to get to the new concept that I heard, not my idea, with all due respect, I heard it from the father of functional medicine, Dr. Jeffrey Bland. I thought it was a great concept, and I want to share it with you today. So it's immuno-regeneration. Your adaptive immune cells actually come from bone marrow. Most people don't realize that bone marrow produces a large amount of B and T cells. B coming from bone, T also coming from thymus, but most are coming from B. Those B cells produce those immunoglobulins. Interesting, our immune cells are naive when they come out. They don't know. Right now, they're just like innocent little teenagers. So if they come out in an environment that's hostile, inflammatory, guess what they have to do? They learn to attack. And that poses an issue. You don't want your immune system always to be on attack because it's going to rise and elevate inflammation. You want your immune system to understand the difference, if you will, between a good, healthy status and an unhealthy status. You want it to have a good direction, if you will. In addition, it's funny how this imprinted idea of your environment speaks to these B and T cells. Now, B and T cells, a lot of people, when it comes to immunorejuvenation, forget about the thymus gland right behind the chest bone. I'm going to show you how to upregulate the thymus gland. The thymus gland is a strong immune gland that shrinks as we age and doesn't give us the same immunoresistance, possibly immunoregulation. So the overriding theme of immunoregulation and rejuvenation is that we want to break down those old crappy cells that aren't doing us much good and build ourselves some new cells. So with that cytokine storm, like we talked about, it's those comorbidities. So with those comorbidities, again, we're elevating that cytokine storm. So do you want your immune cells to support a poor immune system in an unhealthy environment, or do you want them to be effective and provide strong immune support in a healthy environment? So a couple of factoids. These were great. Every 10 seconds, let me repeat that again. Every 10 seconds, there's a release of 1 million white blood cells, 20 million red blood cells, and 30 million platelets. So every 10 seconds, you're getting this plethora of things coming in. In that plethora of stuff coming in, you have the ability to reprogram them. Immuno-rejuvenation. You can rejuvenate your immune system. Talk about some things that are a problem other than lifestyle. I looked up. 30 million Americans are on immunosuppressive drugs. So how's that going to help their immune system? Obviously, it's not. So you have metabolically inactive Americans who have a lot of comorbidities, many of which, about 10%, 8 to 10% are immunosuppressive drugs. Their immune system is not functioning optimally. So there's things that we can do. Clearly, one of the things that we're going to talk about, and I'm going to show you what I do for my immunorejuvenation, would be obviously intermittent fast or time-restrictive eating with the concept of autophagy. And we're going to go into that. In addition, interesting, this gets, if you will, I'm going to use the word, this gets sexy. As a chiropractor, we're very central nervous system oriented. There's a direct correlation between our nervous system and our immune system. So let's go over that, and then let me show you what I need to do to build mine. Number one, we have a nerve called the vagus nerve. Vagus nerve goes from the medulla oblongata down through the transverse colon. It's the largest cranial nerve. It's a parasympathetic nerve that actually innervates all the different organs. It has something to do with all the organs from here and here, if you will. It is on the outside of the transverse colon. It's on the outside because it actually senses what's going on inside your gut. 80% of your immune cells are in your gut. What a great place to start immuno-rejuvenation. Now, your vagus nerve is your bidirectional communicator between your gut and your brain. Your vagus nerve also enables you, or one of the things that enables you to communicate with your gut and your lung, a new hot topic. And in addition, it also has an effect on what we call hypertension. Why and how is it able to do this? It's very simple. Its structure is that, or its function and structure enables it to communicate with your central nervous system, which is your spine and your brain. In addition to that, it's also the captain of the ship of the parasympathetic system. That parasympathetic system is a subset of what we call our autonomic system. We have parasympathetic, rest and digest, wine and dine, chill out, my friend. And then you've got the sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight. So there's a balance, or should be an appropriate balance. When you have the right balance, your autonomic nervous system is working well. Hence, its imprint on your immune system is working well. When it's imbalanced, your sympathetic is too high. And what do you think most people now are? Home, not feeling well, sick, obviously sympathetics are up. So the key would be a vagus nerve stimulation to enable that nervous system in your nervous system, which communicates with your immune system, to function optimally. Remember, the body's all interconnected. It's 12 to 14 systems that if we can get in sync, we're going to have a highly functioning health person. So I think you were trying to get my attention.
Okay, why do we need different probiotics?
Why do we need different probiotics? Interesting, and we're going to talk about that. We need different species and strains of probiotics because we want biodiversity. The diversity in our gut, or the garden of our gut, is our superpower. So we don't want to give it the same thing. We want more diversity because the more diversity enables us to have more properties. Each bacteria, good bacteria, has a different property. I don't want to give my patients just one property. I want them to be able to pick from the proverbial garden, or the cherry tree, if you will.
Can you speak to caring for microflora on the skin?
Microflora on the skin is a great concept. So interestingly enough, right by the nose, there's a lot of bad bacteria which can innervate and go to the brain. The skin has its own microbiome. What I like to do a lot with the skin is, of course, always keep a clean wash, keep everybody hygiene up. And we're going to talk about the low-level laser, in that low-level laser has shown to be antimicrobial, antibacterial, and antifungal. In that, if we use the 405 violet red light.
Immunosuppressants for autoimmune diseases?
Great question. Immunosuppressants for autoimmune diseases. So what do we have there? We have this aberrancy of our acquired and adaptive immune system that's going wild and attacking ourselves, like in rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, and such. Really horrific issues and diseases, and they shut down our immune system. So imagine shutting our immune system down. You know what that is? That's incarcerating our soldiers to protect ourselves because the direction that they were going in wasn't right. Let's train the body through immuno-rejuvenation, good health, and allow them to get a better clinical outcome. You'd be surprised how many patients come in with autoimmune diseases and don't realize many of the autoimmune diseases are lifestyle issues really perpetrating the gut and the gut lining. So some of the lifestyle conditions that we talked about, I'm pretty comfortable that we reiterated. One more thing before I share with you what I do is, it keeps coming to me, it seems like COVID-19 is picking on men a lot more than women. And the question is why? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Actually, believe it or not, men seem, number one, to have more comorbidities. Number two, great study that came out that women's estradiol and estrogen seem to be more protective. And the reason they're more protective to a virus is that for estrogen seems to upregulate their virus immunity. So one, guys aren't watching what they do enough. Their lifestyle is worse than a woman. And two, women have some built-in advantages being estrogen-based because that enables them to have a stronger immune response to viruses. Having said all that, Anything else before I move ahead? Terrific. Let's talk about some of the lifestyle things. Now, I couldn't take my bed down here and show you, so a couple of the things that I wanted to go over are invisible. Good quality sleep. 7 to 8 hours of sleep. I reiterate that every day. 7 to 8 hours of sleep enable you to reset your immune system, detox your brain, review and strengthen your body. Number 2, hydration.
Do women lose that protection after menopause?
Okay, I'll take that question. Hydration. Do women lose that protection after menopause? The study didn't speak to that. And I will take all your questions. I'm going to go through this and I'll take them at the end. So we talked about hydration. We talked about sleep. How about exercise? So here we go. What I did was this to signify exercise. Not everybody's got, I happen to have a gym downstairs. I have some free weights. We have a lot of machines. We've always liked to utilize that, saving on time going to and from the gym. Obviously, the gyms are now closed. So we got a little band here. You can do all band work. You can use your body and your body weight. You can walk. Remember, 2 things you're allowed to do every day is go food shopping and exercise. Look what the government thinks is essential. And here's another band. So you can take a look at this band. There's a bunch of different things you can do. We could get on the floor and do some different push-ups and things like that. So exercise is critical. Get moving in your exercise. Let's talk about the timing in which I eat. Eat fast. So again, it would be impossible to show you. I wanted to show you a clock. So intermittent fasting, which is really time-restrictive eating. Time-restrictive eating is meaning that you fast during the day for a period of time and you eat in a window. So let me give you some numbers and let me explain to you why and what you would do. And let me explain to you why it's immunoregenerative. Number 1, 14 and 10. The first number is the number of hours in which you fast. So clearly if you sleep 7, 8 hours, you're going to incorporate that in that 14. 10 is the hours in the window in which you eat. Now, number 1, you'll find out that you're not going to eat quite as many calories or quite as much junk. Number 2, you get something that they call autophagy. Autophagy is basically your own body self-cleaning, it's self-processing. Your body, after that, actually 13th hour of fast, breaks down old cells, uses the energy for old cells to make new cells. So think of what a boost it is to the immune system. Wow. So autophagy no pill, nothing. You can do it for free. Everybody can do it. Comes from this intermittent fasting, time-restrictive eating. The numbers, the data, it speaks volumes. When you start in your 13th hour of fast, you're going to start on autophagy. It really gears up in your 15th hour. So I always typically eat in a 14 and 10 period of time. 14-hour fast, 10-hour window of food. But because I'm concerned, I want to keep my immune system as strong as and upregulated and provide it with immunoregeneration and rejuvenation, I'm now fasting 16 hours, 16, and I'm eating in 8 hours, 16 and 8. So remember, eat and fast. It's great. And all the studies showed that increased a lot of blood markers that led you down a path of comorbidities. So intermittent fasting is one of the first things I strongly recommend you do. In addition, I'm going to try and show you some foods. I'm going to bring that over here. And hopefully everybody can see it. It's nice and clear. Terrific. So here's what we have. Obviously, I didn't bring the proteins in the eggs. My wife wanted to keep it in the refrigerator. So I'm an egg eater. I'm not allergic to eggs. Grass-fed beef. In addition to the grass-fed beef, I like wild fish or smash fish, salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herring. Limiting my fruits a little bit because, sugar can be very damaging. Sugar can decrease your immune system. Of course, I would have also had coffee, but I didn't want to spill it. So what do we have? We got some immune-boosting things. We got some organic mushrooms here. We got some Brussels sprouts. We got a cucumber. Yes, I like the lycopenes and tomatoes. Maybe my favorite food, avocado. By the way, it's a fruit. It's a fatty fruit, so olives, avocados, and coconuts are fatty fruits. Good choice. We've got a lime. We've got a jalapeno. So you can see mixing this any way, shape, or form with the proteins that I recommend is a good solid meal you're going to eat from the cherry tree. One of the things that you want to talk about the more colorful they are, is the more phytonutrients. So they give you phytochemicals. These chemicals are from plants. I hate to tell you, the more bitter a vegetable is, the better it is for you, because it's bitter because it produced these phytochemicals, which are actually bitter, and it wanted to produce that bitter taste so insects and other bugs wouldn't come eat it. They go for the sweet stuff, like the apple, which we have in here. We have one apple, so, we eat a little bit of an apple. That's like our big treat. Woo, haha, all kind of stuff. So I'm going to put this back. And we cook it. Right now I'm suggesting we cook everything. We cook it. We do all different things. We've got some cauliflower dough that we get at Whole Foods, so we can have a pizza, a few times a week. And in the pizza, we put cashew cheese, all these great prebiotics, garlic, leeks, Jerusalem artichoke, and we put some protein on top. Now, let me talk to you about my supplements. Let me get them over here. These are all courtesy. I thank you very much for Nutridyne. So let me show you some, not all. I just grabbed some of what we take. And yes, vitamin C is in here. Yes, there's not a ton of zinc here. I just picked some to show you. Immune support. So I take this every day. And if anybody's interested in getting any of these, we're going to provide a link. You send me a link. If you really want, what I'm doing for the rest of the week is I'm sending a health appraisal questionnaire on the house. It's 268 questions. Takes about 20 minutes to fill out. I just did it for my patients. I'm going to be up all night. I'm going to communicate with you. Let me know where your health is. It allows me to let me know where your health is over the last 30 days, because, we've been all somewhat quarantined, stressed, etc. So here's immune support. So in the immune support, you've got basically all the mushrooms that are shown to be immune boosting. It's got some zinc. It's got some other selenium. Those are, zinc and selenium are probably the two go-to minerals that I would recommend. So immune support. By the way, I don't know if you can still get this. It may be back order. And don't come to my house, because it's my last one for now. So we've already got Everyday Essentials by Nutridyne. So essentially, it's a little everyday package. It's easy to move around. It's got a great multivitamin, which has all the phytonutrients that we talk. So it has multivitamins, multiminerals, phytonutrients that are critical to allow for immunoregulation. There's fish oil in here. There's a little D, and there's some more zinc. So put this over here. And Spore Probio, one of my favorite products. So this is Bacillus subtilis. That is an endospore. You need bacteria. Great choice in the bacteria. In addition to that, it's got a prebiotic. We all know that we need prebiotics to feed probiotics. So here's how it works. A probiotic is a good bacteria. You know what probiotic means? Giving life. So these give life. Foods that enable your gut to be enriched with good bacteria give you life. Listen to the word probiotic. Prebiotic, before life, things that you can do to feed the good bacteria. Bacteria needs to eat. You got to feed the good renters. They're renters because they're a little transient in your gut. One of the best ways, other than food, is XOS, xylo-oligosaccharides. It only feeds the good bacteria. And ultimately, are you guys ready for a 2021 conversation? Let me go for it. Probiotic equal postbiotic. It's what's left there, which should be your health promoting status. So we take care of that. We got more to go. Don't leave me. Here we have D3 5000 with K2. This should be called hormone D. I mean, without question. We all know upper respiratory, it's great for. It puts the cascade and brakes on inflammation. It's one of the best products that you can get. Everybody knows to take D. The key caveat is D3 with K2. Take it with a meal, fat-soluble vitamin. Liposomal glutathione. So you could have NAC, NAC. NAC has been shown to be really positive in upper respiratory. And liposomal glutathione, the master antioxidant. It can ameliorate up to 1 million free radicals. I like the liposomal. I might as well go for it. Get a little healthy. It's like a breath mint. Put it right in there. Don't give me a funny face. It tastes good. And then we've got the GI Restore. And people probably like, what is he doing? Well, why GI Restore? 80% of your immune cells are in your gut. It's where your macro and micronutrients are absorbed. Everybody's talking about all these other things. I'm trying to let you know, in addition to all these immune boosting over here, you got to take care of your gut, and it happens to taste really good. And I left, without question, the Pierre Resistance for the end because I wanted my friends at Aconia to watch and listen to me because they don't hear from me enough. That's sort of a tongue-in-cheek. So here I have my Aconia laser. I use this on myself. I use this on my wife. And everybody's asking, when are you coming back in, Dr. Rob? I need the laser. So let's talk about this a little. I have all of the lasers. I just wanted to feature this one. This one has a red and a violet light. And very easy to turn it on. And hopefully everybody can see it. Yep, there's, you got your red and you got your violet. So your red is a 635 nanometer light. Great for musculoskeletal system. Great for injury. Helps with wound healing. It also decreases interleukins. And we know that the elevation of interleukins release cytokines, which lead to a cytokine storm. So the red light's got some really solid literature on interleukin 1 beta and interleukin 8. The violet light, obviously, as I said earlier, is antiviral, antimicrobial, antibacterial. A lot of good studies. If you're interested, I'm happy to share them with you that shown they have been all those things that I mentioned and they use them in a hospital. Nobody's saying that anything that we did here cures COVID-19. We're not going to make that statement with a novel virus. We're just saying what it does to help for immuno-rejuvenation. Now, the violet light and the red light also allow their synergy together and they allow you to optimize your autonomic nervous system. So your violet light is sympathetic. Your red light is parasympathetic. Use them together. They're in sync. You balance that autonomic nervous system. And we talked a little bit before about the autonomic nervous system being in balance and enabling your immune system to function well. And one other thing that I wanted to talk about, the vagus nerve once again. So here's my vagus nerve. This is what I do for the vagus nerve. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to go mode select. I'm going to just put the violet light on. And I'm going to stimulate the violet light. I'm going to stimulate the vagus nerve with the violet light. Medulla oblongata down through the transverse colon, up and through. 30 seconds. I'm doing it quick, I know. Each side. And we do that every day. In addition, if anybody has any questions on the vagus nerve stimulation, that's how I do it. Why vagus nerve? Real simple. Not just because it's gut and brain. It's really good. One of the biggest features that we never talk about proper tone in the vagus nerve is it decreases or quenches peripheral inflammation. So it does a multitude of things and enables the gut and the lung to communicate in a more health-performing manner. And last, clearly not least, I'm going to go back to the red and violet light and press it, press start. I'm going right in here, right by my mic. My mic was my marker, and work with the thymus gland. And those are the things that I do in addition. So it's lifestyle, clearly. Exercise. I'm taking 1 day off a week. I admit it. I'm taking 1 day off. I wanted to go 7, but, it was enough. Supplements, obviously the food that we talked about, all organic, healthy. My wife is a great cook. Anytime you put her on chef, whatever competition, Bobby Flavor, anything, she will kick his ass. My wife doesn't want me to say that, but I'm telling you, she's just that good. So we have all these different supplements and more. Exercise, the intermittent fasting, time restrictive eating, and my handy dandy Aconia EVR laser. So I know we had some questions. Go for it.
Not questions per se. Glutathione stabilizer, 1 million free radicals per second per cell. That's Mike.
That's great. 1 million free radicals with glutathione per second. It can do it. It's the most potent antioxidant. Everybody should want to upregulate their glutathione. And the reason glutathione works so well is you want NRF2 upregulators.
Lauren marks live microorganisms that, when provided in adequate amounts, confers a beneficial effect on the host.
That's great. Everybody look at what my good friend, New York City, Dr. Lauren Marks said. A great idea, and I know he's referring to those probiotics. Cool. So we're here every day. Tomorrow, we're going to try and go on. I'm actually doing a live for the IRA Chiropractic Society at 1 o'clock. So we're going to be talking about antibody testing and everything like that. So I'm going to see if they allow me also to go live. If not, we're probably going to have to miss tomorrow. So we're going to try, and I'll post. Assume that we're going to be on, so Monday to Friday, 1 o'clock to 1:30, every Monday to Friday, always giving you the biggest health updates. Any questions, any comments, feel free to put it in the section. Please share this good quality information. And as you all know, my name is Dr. Rob Silverman. Always yours in health. See you soon.